How are you?
I'm great, Ray. How are you?
Doing well. It's nighttime there, huh?
Yeah, it's night. It's 11 p.m. here in
Okay.
India.
Wow. It's 11:30 a.m. here.
Yeah. So thank you, Trey, for giving me opportunity for interview you for my YouTube channel and podcast.
Oh, you're welcome. My pleasure.
So I thought to tell about you and the work that you are doing to my audience.
Okay.
So can you please introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Trey Rutledge. I'm the Director of Business Development and Strategic Partnerships for Dragonchain. I've been with the company 4 years this month.
So you're from?
I'm from Kansas, Kansas City, Kansas. Our headquarters are in Bellevue, Washington, and our COO is in Detroit. So we're spread out around the U.S.
So what service that you provide and what exactly you do?
Dragonchain is a hybrid blockchain platform. We specialize in enterprise solutions. We have a permission-based hybrid blockchain that has a 5-layer consensus mechanism that is quantum resistant. We have different sectors that we're in, such as healthcare, fintech, retail with supply chain.
So uh, you're providing this service to all around the world.
Yes, we sure are. We actually are working in India right now. We have a branch of our company, a spinoff, if you will, called Dragon Scale, and that is their first campaign will be in India. We've also been in India this last year with Raj Kapoor, working with the India Blockchain Alliance and his efforts with the blockchain centers of excellence that he's introducing. He's in hundreds of universities and colleges that he's in right now, but I believe that he's branching out a lot wider. I believe 8 million students in the end will be under his centers of excellence, and he actually partnered with Dragonchain for that endeavor for some of the courseware and the curriculum. So we provide several, I think it's 6 courses that we have with him that start from the rudimentary and walk your way up to more advanced courses such as smart contract practitioner and things of that nature. Actually, the ability to write code, so it walks you through.
So when this Dragon Chain started and what is this? I mean, where you have reached?
Sure. Dragonchain started in 2014. We were actually incubated inside Walt Disney, and we were open sourced in 2016, and we were commercialized in 2017.
So the present projects that you are doing.
We have projects in a wide variety of sectors. We've got telehealth products going on right now. We're in the healthcare arena right now. We're also in fintech, working with AML, KYC, and order book proofs. We also have supply chain tracking. Our COO is Phil Abraham. He is the creator of Manugistics. He's done tremendous amount of work with supply chain for companies like GM and Ford, Kmart, Walmart, Domino's. So he brings a wealth of knowledge to our team. He's one that actually helped us introduce our strategic partnership with advanced quantum encryption devices. So we actually brought in a polymorphic random number generator and incorporated that into the core of our DNA. So we have the world's only quantum encrypted blockchain. We can actually encrypt the data at rest and in transit. And that's put us as the sole vendor for the US government on the GSA schedule for the category quantum encrypted blockchain and quantum encrypted smart contracts. And we have the US patent on smart contract orchestration.
So which companies are using your service?
We're open source. We have about 40 level 1 business nodes running right now. We anticipate quite a bit more, but we have some partners that have announced. We have Beaksy is our banking client. That's probably one of our larger clients right now. Safe Health our Safe Pass is the product that we've created with the telehealth company Medic Health Systems, and we have several other contracts. We're working right now with Artemis Technology Group. They have a product that we're building with them for an ESG scoring system. That's a pretty large endeavor for us. That's one of our larger clients, and that's going to spin off a lot of other clients through that carbon tracking and trading system. It'll be the first of its kind that has a universal standardization, but also it will be the first to report to the U.S. regulators.
So what is the goal of Dragonchain?
Well, the goal of Dragonchain, I guess, is to disrupt and to, bring transparency and to migrate data, on chain, into the cloud, whether that's on premise or, or in the cloud, whatever works best for them. But in the end, I think that's the best way to bring transparency and end corruption and fraud, and actually save a lot of money in the process, not just to increase the security, increase your analytics and your metrics, but also increase return on investment through that automation process. We have the U.S. patent on interoperability that lends itself to really coming into current legacy systems. Instead of starting from the bottom and building up, we can come in with our middleware. We specialize in glue code, so we can connect disparate and siloed networks and allow them to talk, pass data, even have micropayment settlements between each other where there currently isn't any communication. So I think that's one of the biggest benefits, is being able to connect systems and then being able to automate processes, whether that's in fintech or whether that's supply chain, and also dealing with authentication. We have a decentralized identity system called MiFi that does IoT and device sensor authentication as well as human. So we're able to track every step in that supply chain process, and we're able to every touch, track the carbon, and then also authenticate that good. So we're seeing some really ingenious ways to apply that tracking, where you're bringing in an NFT and a smart contract, embedded payments, the decentralized identity, and capturing all that data at the same time.
So what is working for Dragonchain to make things possible?
I think it's basically the unique structure and arrangement of the architecture. I came across the white paper in late 2017, was really struck by the uniqueness of how things were put together and how that increased features and functionality that I hadn't seen elsewhere. If you look at the patents that they disseminated, it kind of shows the uniqueness of that architecture. But, we do have the U.S. patent on interoperability, like I was referring to, the ability to connect disparate and siloed networks and even pass electronic healthcare records in a GDPR compliant way. But we also have the U.S. patent on smart contract orchestration. And that's going to be a web-based RESTful architecture that's extremely flexible and interoperable with the ability to check incoming and outgoing states. And then we also have a patent on our tokenized micro license. That is a very unique architecture, and it doesn't use any mining, and that lowers our carbon footprint. We consume just 0.02 watts per transaction, and there's a big focus on carbon footprint. So I think that's really positioned us to do well, especially when you're looking at people really not looking to add to that carbon footprint while they track that carbon footprint. But I definitely think it's the architecture and the leadership, and I think the pedigree of where we've come from, the fact that we did start in 2014. We have a lot of use cases and case studies that we were afforded during that time at Walt Disney that really helped us, or helped Joe figure out a lot of the curves and the pit stops and the roundabouts along the way. I think that experience really put him ahead of the league. But I think his ability to build an ecosystem that has solved a lot of the challenges that are existing in the infrastructure or in the system, where a lot of people have looked at blockchain but not necessarily making that step forward because they had issues with either the network speed, the network scalability, the network security, the interoperability. We're coding agnostic, so we're extremely flexible. We have RESTful architecture on our SDKs and API, so that allows for really easy integration. It literally takes just 3 clicks of a button and about 10 minutes to deploy a node on our ecosystem. So we're extremely easy to onboard. You can use the existing code that you don't have to learn a new language. So I think some of that has really helped us with our ability to come to market quickly. I referred to earlier that SafePass app that we built for Medic Health Systems. When they first called us to when we finished that product, took us only 14 days. A few of those days were talking days. So we were able to come to market with that extremely quick, and we were able to do that in a GDPR CCPA capable way and didn't have to get any waivers. And I think that speaks to our ability to come to market quickly, but also to bring a quality product.
So what is world before Dragonchain and after Dragonchain?
Pardon?
What is world before Dragonchain and after Dragonchain?
What is the world?
Yeah. What is the impact that Dragonchain created?
Sure. Well, I think if you look at what we were able to do for our COO, Phil Abraham, he's a supply chain guru, and he understands and has identified all those disparate and siloed networks out there, and he's used AI to reach out and find where the good data is at. But he's only one man that can do one thing, and he said what he loves about this product and why he came on board as our COO and serves on our board is that interoperability patent and our ability to connect all those disparate and siloed networks. It really, 30 years of his work, and all he knows now can be applied to that. And instead of him being able to affect one person, one thing, now he can set up all of these centers that to all communicate and talk. And when you look at addressing a large supply chain like a healthcare system, you've got to be able to have that interoperability between all those different networks. So I think our ability to connect all his work that he had done for 30 years, those kind of things excite me when I see them. But I think those are how we solve real world issues with someone like himself that is a guru, probably the top in the US, that we made his life so much easier by the tools that we have with our architecture.
So what is the biggest project that you did and how you are able to do it?
I think the biggest project to date would be the Artemis Technology Group. That's a big undertaking. Just the standardization process alone is extremely complex. And then having, real data that you can rely on is a big piece. And then being able to report to the regulators. I definitely think, as I mentioned earlier, that's going to spawn a lot of other relationships for us. So Amanda Martinez and her project right now definitely would be the biggest to date. But, as I mentioned earlier, we are on the GSA schedule for the United States government and Department of Defense. And looking at what the Biden administration has released recently with their cyber initiatives, I believe that we're positioned very well to do well with our quantum encryption, blockchain, and quantum encrypted smart contracts. So we'll see how that plays out.
So how you are able to give service to different countries in the world other than US?
Yeah, we haven't had any restrictions so far on what we've been able to do in other countries. I haven't had any issues anywhere that we've worked at so far. Dragon Scales is located in Switzerland. We're here in Washington. We're doing quite a bit of work in India there. We don't currently work in China at all, and we don't work in North Korea, but everywhere else, we certainly would love to have a footprint.
So Dragonchain achievements?
We've won Small Business of the Year the last 2 years in Bellevue. And we have the 5 US patents, and that's definitely, those Holy Grail patents are something to hang their hat on. And I think that the accomplishment of being on the GSA schedule is a very paramount event as well. But I think, our best achievement, I think right now, is just being so carbon neutral and looking forward to be contributing to sustainability and being eco-friendly. I think that is what I'm most proud of altogether.
So you said you're connected with India. So you already started here?
Yes, Dragon Scale has its first campaign starting there in India, working with Raj Kapoor. And we've also had our centers of excellence with Raj Kapoor operating for almost the last year. I know we're over a few hundred universities that are using it. In the end, I'm sure he'll be over 1,000, and he's in other continents besides that as well, including Africa. But Yeah, we've really enjoyed the educational piece. That comes out of the Dragonchain Foundation, which is a nonprofit. So this whole endeavor is just to further blockchain education and growth and mentorship, as well as finding a place for incubation and acceleration of those talents we find.
So, what are your future plans?
Our future plans are just to continue to grow and have our footprint in both, the public sector, but also continue to grow in other continents. Like we've had success in India, we would love to continue to grow into other countries, including, Puerto Rico or, Europe, Canada, and there's a lot of penetration here in the U.S. So we're really looking forward to some regulatory guidance from the SEC. I think that'll really help usher in the adoption for a lot of people that are on the sideline. And I think continued education for people to really understand, the complexity of what we've put together, but also the ease, or the functionality and the use of ease that we've also created. So I think those things will continue to help us shine in the future. But I do think that blockchain in itself is in its zenith, and I think that we're in a really good place here in the U.S. to be able to capitalize on that positioning.
So, as a director, what is making you to put Dragonchain forward?
I came on board here, 4 years ago this month, but I just started out as a salesperson. So I've continued to work my way up the ladder. But I think, part of my passion comes from understanding the power of blockchain and the power of this technology and the ability that it has to disrupt, but disrupt in good ways, ending fraud and lowering costs. I think, if you look at what we've done in the healthcare arena with improving patient outcomes and improving reimbursements and improving the patient relationship without actually touching the doctor, nurse, and patient, being able to come in and use blockchain technology and effect change is the power, and I think that's on a case by case success level. But I think that blockchain in itself has the ability to do a lot of good in a lot of different areas, whether that be healthcare or banking or retail. But in the end, I think what the footprint that it leaves will be one that will really leave a positive impact on the world.
So, what is the best feedback that you got?
Oh, the best feedback we've got so far? Gosh, I wish I had some quotes pulled up here. We have some good testimonies from our clients, but I think Beaksy, I think really our exchange out of Chicago, I think they were the use case that was the easiest for the audience to see. They proved that there was no front running or no preferential treatment given to bots or market makers, that they were honoring the placement and timing of those individual orders, and they've put even their market maker transparency online. So I think their testimony coming back to us, that they really appreciated how blockchain was able to prove to their audience that they're running integrously, and that was at a time when GameStop was going on and all the other things that were kind of not a good slight of shade on the crypto community. So their integrity, I think their ability to prove their integrity, our technology allows them that. And they were very appreciative. We've actually put together a commercial that I'll share with you after this, but a really good group of people. And, we've enjoyed working with all of our clients. I mean, it's always been a positive experience. And I think our ability to come to market on time and not ask for extensions and not having the upfront costs. A lot of these early crypto providers were really marketing arms and advertising. They're consulting, where we're actually bringing solutions to the market. And I think that's the difference between us and a lot of others, is we don't have the onboarding costs. We're literally 3 clicks of a button in 10 minutes to deploy a node. And that takes a lot of the headache out of it. And, it's really just pick a department to migrate and not have to take the whole company on at a time. When you're talking to an enterprise, it's, you don't have to do everything. You can just pick a department.
So, like you said, in very short time, Dragonchain went very far. So, what work did to make come into that position?
I would have to say that really, this last year when Phil Abraham came on board, he really helped kind of change the direction and bring up the caliber of people we were getting FaceTime with. he was such a celebrated person in the industry, and was able to get to those key meetings that I had difficulty for a while breaking through that barrier. So I think that just him, and then bringing on the channel partners that he brings to the table, that really are out socializing and evangelizing our product daily. I think that that's invaluable, and that just comes with, you can't buy that kind of an experience. You really have to have someone that has the integrity and the network and the credits to be able to say, hey, take a look at what we're doing here. And what he brought with that quantum encryption really changed our availability, because we do have a quantum resistant 5-layer mechanism that aggregates and leverages the hash power of Bitcoin and Ethereum and others. That gives us $8 million a day of transactional security. But we took that one step further, and then we actually added the ability to encrypt every level of every node, 1 through 5, so that everything is encrypted at rest and in transit. So we do have certain clients that need that level of encryption protection. And so him opening up that public sector was a huge growth opportunity for us.
So as a director in these 4 years in Dragonchain, what you learned?
I've learned the value of relationships. It's not about just selling to people, it's about helping our clients. And so really serving them and educating them on how this will benefit them, as opposed to just coming in and trying to say, this is what we can do and this is what our product is. So I think me really understanding the power of channel partners and resellers, and then the power of nurturing those relationships to where it's not just when you're on the call, it's an after hours, a community where you're actually really bonding with them and not just making it all about business, and forming a bond and a relationship with some of those channel partners and your sales team. I mean, it takes a whole village, and Joe Rotes is a tremendous CEO, and we have a tremendous team, marketing and journalism wise. So that's what I've learned, is that it's not just one person. You have to have a team, and you really have to really create bonds with those channel partners and staff members and team members. And it's about getting a co-mission versus someone to be in submission to you.
So can I say all these are the key points which made you to reach wherever you have reached?
Yes, well, I think you can definitely share those points, and I'm always learning and growing, and I hope that I come back on here in a year or two and we have more to our story, because I feel like we're just beginning.
Awesome. So in coming days, what you want to do? You already said, but you are starting in India, and there are a lot of people, a lot of technologists who will be watching and listening to our conversation from anywhere on this planet. So what do you want to say to them?
Well, I would like to say to them to take a look at what blockchain can really do with our architecture, not what you think blockchain can do. Or just looking back at Joe Rotes and what he did at Disney, he didn't say, hey, to a department, I can do this for you. He said, bring me your problems that you don't think are solvable, or that you think have nothing to do with anything that technology can help you with. And I think that's where, when you think outside of the box and you open your mind and you really explore what's capable with this architecture, I think that's where the real growth opportunity occurs.
So at last, have you seen any videos of mine on YouTube?
I have.
What do you say about it as a director?
I think you're doing a great job, and just continue putting that content out there. I think you're doing great, and I appreciate you reaching out to me. It's been a pleasure being on your show.
So I did masters in software engineering and graduation in computer science and engineering. So talking with experienced people like you who are already in the industry and who are creating impact and effect around the planet. So me talking with great people like you, what I'm going to learn and what I'm going to how I'm going to use this knowledge if I work in a position in IT.
I like it. That's a great plan.
So how it is going to be useful for me, this information, these interviews?
Well, gosh, I figure you're learning as you're conducting these interviews, so you're expanding your knowledge base as we go. So I think it's ingenious, and you're reaching out to people that in the industry, and you never know what that network, when you build, might come back and serve you in the end.
So thank you, Trey, for giving me opportunity and giving me your valuable time to interview you and allowing me to ask you a few questions.
You're welcome. It's been a pleasure being on your show.
So can I put this video on my YouTube channel with your permission?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Also, can I put this audio and video clip on my podcast, website, internet, social media, everywhere with your permission?
Sure.
Thanks. Thanks, Trey. Keep
You're
going.
welcome.
Keep doing what you love.
Thank you. Have a great day. It was a pleasure.
Bye, sir.